friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather, and today we are going to wrap up all of my May reading. First, before we get going into all of that, if you could click that subscribe button before you forget, that would be awesome. And my Instagram and Goodreads will be linked below if you guys are interested in following me there as well. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the books that I read this month. I, first off, did a mid-month wrap-up. I do this every month because I read a good chunk of books, and if I tried to talk about all of them in this wrap-up, it would be a million minutes long because I often overtalk. So the first 6 books that I read this month are going to be in that wrap-up, and I will make sure to put it in the cards and down below if you guys want to check those out. So let's just run through what 6 books I had on there. So we had What Beauty There Is by Corey Anderson, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, I Want to Be Where You Are by Christina Forrest, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger, and Sleeping Giants by Sylvan Newfell. Okay, so again, if you want to check out reviews on those 6 books, go ahead and head over to my mid-month wrap-up after watching this or before, and then come back. I don't know, whatever you want to do there. And now we're going to go ahead and run through the stats on the books that I read this month, and then we will wrap up the next 7 books. I read 13 books this month. So as I said, I read 13 books. That equated to almost 4,800 pages. I did read a couple of lengthier books this month. I read a bunch of audiobooks because it was my last month finishing up finals for school. So we had 7 audiobooks, we had 1 ebook, and 5 physical books. As far as age category, I actually read 8 young adult and 5 adult. I was surprised to see it kind of swing towards the young adult quite that much. And I feel like some of the 5 stars kind of slowed down a little bit this month. I only had 2, but I had 6 4 stars, 2 3 stars, 2 2 stars, and I did DNF a book. My genres were just like way the heck all over the place. So I had 3 horror novels, 1 sci-fi, 1 contemporary, and then we had 2 fantasy, 2 mysteries, 2 thrillers, and 2 romance. Like I hit like every category possible in this month. There was a lot going on. I also did have some LGBTQ plus rep, 3 where it was the main character, and then 3 where there was representation present in the book. So that was almost half my books had some kind of representation, which is awesome. And then I did read 4 of my books from an author of color, and I read 4 books off of my bookshelf, which is really good because I need to start reading these suckers. And did I finish any series this month? No. Not even close. I don't even think I continued books in any series, but I did definitely start some series. So, you know, still a problem there. Still very much a struggle. So in my mid-month wrap-up, I ranked my books that I had read from least favorite to favorite because I just kind of missed doing that. I know it was a thing a couple years ago on BookTube, and I like the intenseness. I'm trying to figure out, like, do I like this one a little bit more or this one a little more? I don't know. I was just enjoying it. So we're going to rank again. And so we're going to start with my least favorite book out of this last 7 of the month. So I'm not doing all 13. I'm just doing it for this part of the wrap up until my favorite for this last half of the month. That means we are starting with my DNF. And you guys might be kind of surprised. I know this book is super popular and people love it, and I didn't. I could not get into it. It was a struggle. So I am DNFing Circe. I made it. Let's see how far I made it. I made it to page 258, and there's like 385. So I had a little over 100 pages still. Oh my goodness. This book, we are basically, it's just like this character life story of Circe, and we are following her, you know, through her life, and she has different relationships with her mother and her father and her siblings and all these other gods, and then also some of these different mortals, and she lives on an island and turns men into pigs, and it's just like literally we're just following her life and we're in her head, and she's just telling us what she thinks of this, that, and the other. And I just found it to be very slow, and I was just like, why do I care about Cersei in her life? I don't feel like I care about her at all. And I just was like, I don't know. And then we were getting towards the end of the month, and I was like, okay, I have like 4 or 5 days left till the end of the month here, and I broke up into like, it was like 30-something pages a day. I was like, let's just see if we can finish it, because we want to know what is all the fuss about with this book. I did like one of those days, and then I was just like, I'd rather read this, or I'd rather go do this, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to force myself. We're just going to call it. We're just going to call it. So I tried with this book, and I even tried the audiobook. I listened to a good chunk of this on an audiobook. I tried it both ways. I physically read it and I listened to the audiobook. It was not happening. Okay, so the rest of the books I actually did enjoy for this month. So my next read was a 3-star read, and that was Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This, I feel like, is explained in a certain way that makes you feel like it's going to be more of a romance, but I definitely feel like it leans more towards the contemporary side of it. There's a little bit of a romance sprinkled in here, but I think the main focus is really about Grace and her finding herself and trying to figure out her next steps in life. She just finished getting her PhD in astronomy, and now she's just like, I don't know what I want to do next. She's struggling to get a position, and she feels like she's got a lot going against her. She's a woman, and she's Black, and she's, that's very rare in her field. Her field isn't like an area that has a ton of jobs, but she knows she's good and she can do it. And but she's worn out too. She's been going to school for so long. So I feel like it's really like about her and her finding herself and figuring that out, and just taking some time to do some self-care and some mental reflection and kind of get her own self together. But we also have a kind of romance subplot in which she goes to Las Vegas after she graduates with some friends, and then wakes up married, and Yuki lives in New York, and so they start kind of communicating afterwards, and Grace does end up going to New York to stay with her for a little while and get to know her wife. And so there is that kind of romance piece in there as well. And I loved Yuki. She was the cutest character, very quirky and fun, and her roommates were super fun. I actually really enjoyed a lot of the friends and side characters in Yuki more than I enjoyed Grace. I felt like Grace was kind of a boring character. She was a little bit bland. Like she didn't have more to her. I don't know. I feel like the author developed all the other characters so much more and gave them so much more personality. And Grace she was just kind of lost and bland and blah. And it was just like, give me a little more there. It got a little bit better by the end, but I definitely wish that I had gotten a little more something in the personality way with Grace. The rest of the side characters super funny and fun, and her wife has this radio show that she does, and she tells all these fun stories, and she goes ghost hunting and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that, and that was kind of fun. So next up, we'll talk about Lock and Key by Joe Hill. This is a graphic novel that I read. So you can kind of see some of the artwork there. I'm trying not to show pages that are too gory. I'm trying to show you guys some of the art that isn't too gory. If you don't want a more gory graphic novel, this is not going to be one for you, because it does have some of that in here for sure. It is a horror graphic novel. There's actually a TV show that is based off of it, which I really enjoyed. And that is something that I'm not sure if I would have enjoyed the graphic novel as much if I hadn't seen the TV show. I feel like I could remember pieces of the TV show as I was going through, and I was like, oh yeah, that, and things clicked easier, and I wondered if I would have gotten as much out of it without having watched the TV show, because I feel like there's so many little details that are in the TV show that aren't in here. And I'm like, would I have made that connection? I don't know. So, but I did enjoy it, and I did end up giving it 4 stars. It's not my ideal art style, but I mean, it did the job. And if you guys haven't heard about what this is about, basically this family, their dad ends up getting shot and killed by like an old student, and so they end up moving into his old family home, and it's the mom and her 3 kids, and it's called Key House. And when they get there, they start having some weird things happening, and they start finding keys, and they open different doors in the house, but the doors are kind of doorways into different dimensions, or they do different things. So for example, one of the doors you open, and if you walk through it, your body actually falls down on the ground on the one side of the door dead, and you start flying around like a ghost on the other side of the door, and then you come back through the door, you go back into your body. So it's, you know, interesting. You're finding all these different keys, and then we have this woman who wants all the keys, and she's trying to manipulate different people to get the keys for her and figure out where some of the different keys are at. And she's the woman in the well. I can't remember if she has a name yet or not. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I do want to, I think, continue reading through these graphic novels and seeing what I think of the rest of them. So we'll see. So the next book that we're going to put in here is The Invited by Jennifer McMahon. I have been really wanting to read some Jennifer McMahon books because all of her synopses just sound so interesting to me. In this one, we are following this couple, and they move out into the country and they start building this house, and they're finding out about the land, and that it used to be owned by this woman that was considered to be a witch because she would kind of know about some things before they would happen. And she tried to warn the town, this was back in like the early 1900s, I believe, like, hey, this thing is going to happen. I think it was the school was going to burn down or something, and nobody listened to her, and then it happened, and then they blamed her for it. And so you're finding out about basically her and how she used to own this land, and just a lot of tales about her. This couple's also building a house on the land, and maybe the ghost is kind of making them build it a certain way to her liking, and she's kind of, you know, in there. So you've kind of got this ghost story going on, and then while this couple is building a house on the land. So it was a very interesting premise. I really enjoyed it. I liked the kind of historical aspects that they were trying to bring in, and the like witchy, haunted feeling going on. I don't feel like I really got that creeped out or scared or anything throughout it. I don't think it was fully to that extent, and I'm interested in reading more from her. I don't know, I guess I wanted more of that creepy feeling. And so I put this one at a 4-star. So I really enjoyed it. I liked the storyline. I just wanted a little more creep factor. So then we're going to move into They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. And this book hooked me pretty fast. It has a very interesting intro. So in this book, we are following Scarlett, and she works at this university as a professor, and once a year she finds the worst man on campus, according to her, and she murders them. So we are following her as she's kind of setting up to do her next murder. I felt like the twist kind of came a little bit earlier in the book, and I was like, all right, very interesting twist, but you're still like, even from there, I was still like, wait, but what's going to happen from here? And I was still intrigued, and I really was into the story, and I liked the way the author told the story. I felt for her, even though she was a murderer. I was just like, well, maybe I'm okay with it. I don't know, it definitely like pushed your boundaries a little bit, and I thought it was kind of fun and different, and so this one I also gave a 4-star. So then we've got Beartown by Frederick Backman, and this is the first Frederick Backman book that I have read, and I can definitely understand why people really enjoy his writing. Literally, like, almost the first half of this book, I feel like we're just delving into all of these characters' lives, and we are getting to know them. Like, he writes characters, like, so well. Like, you really get into the heart of how they feel, and you just, I don't know, like, I think that's what really makes you feel in a story like this, and I think that was impeccably done. His writing's beautiful, very, very nicely done. Not a super fast-paced plot type book, but definitely a plot that gets you thinking. So in this book, we are following this town, Beartown, and they are an ice hockey town. And the ice hockey team is doing really well, and they might make it to finals, and then one of the girls accuses the head ice hockey star of raping her, and the whole town just like freaks out and erupts, and they think that, you know, they start blaming her, like she's just trying to get back at him, and oh, maybe she shouldn't have led him on, and this and that. And then other people are like, excuse me, so you're just gonna let him get away with it just because he's the ice hockey like star around here? It's just like this whole thing, and ice hockey is like also really connected to the town and their economy and just all this stuff, and it's just like, oh my gosh, so many like ripple effects and so many things to think about, and you're just like, how do people act this way? But they do, they act this way, and it's just crazy. So yeah, I enjoyed my read. It's definitely a tough read and a hard read. It's not like a super fun, sweet read, but I think it was really well done and very impactful and thoughtful. All right, and the last book we're going to talk about is definitely my favorite of the month. This book was so good. I was so hooked into this book. I was just like, I can't wait to read more, and I just wanted to fly through it. It is a little bit of a heftier book, so I didn't fly through it as fast as I wish I could have, but at the same time, like, I was savoring every moment and second. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a vlog coming out soon where I read this book, and you can just hear me gush about it for like the whole thing. But that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This book was so good. It had this great, like, fast-paced plot, but the characters were all very well done as well, and you're getting all these different relationships entangled in here, and it had everything. She had great writing, it had representation in here, the intrigue was amazing. I cannot believe how much I loved this book. I know it was very hyped lately, but I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about it. It is a like King Arthur retelling kind of story. I was just like, I don't know. I haven't really read that before. We'll see how I like this. So good. So stinking good. I can't wait for the sequel. I'm so mad that I have to wait for the sequel. It's not even coming out this year. It's supposed to come out next year. I'm just like, I can't wait that long. Anyways, okay. We're going to calm down. We're going to calm down. Tell you about this book. This is, like I said, it's kind of a King Arthur retelling, but in modern day we have Bree, and she goes to this college in like an early college program for her to finish up high school, and she sees this like being and these students like taking care of it, and she's like, what is happening right now? And they try to wipe her memory, but it doesn't work, and they're like, what the heck? And so she ends up getting inducted into this like secret Arthurian society where all of these different descendants from King Arthur and his knights, like, they are still fighting this war against all of these like demons and stuff. And so yeah, you have this kind of secret society side, and then she's at school and she's got some relationships. She's got like her dad and her best friend, and she's trying to find out more about her mom who just passed away. It's just, yeah, it is a ride. It is so much fun, and I loved this book. It was so good. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's a fantasy book in a lot of ways, but it really is like, it's set in the real world, and it's very accessible, I feel like, to anyone, even if you don't read a lot of fantasy. It does have a small amount of romance in here as well, and so, I don't know, it ticks all the boxes. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. I'm so glad that I got this book. Okay, so there it is, my 7 books that I finished reading in the last half of this month, And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, please let me know what was your favorite read this month. I would absolutely love to hear about it, and so I can pick up some books as well that you guys liked. So I will talk to you guys soon, and you guys have a really wonderful rest of your day. Bye.